Hi, well, welcome to another episode, and I'm very excited today. I have my dear friend Rebecca, and she's a remarkable woman with a very remarkable story and lots of nuggets of wisdom. So, thank you for joining me, Rebecca.
Thank you so much, Holly. Thank you too for being patient. I know that Zoom give us a hard time here.
Look, it's never clear. Tech, I always give it a leeway window because it always drives. I love it, but it drives me crazy. But thank you for being here. So let's just start. First of all, you're a mom. Tell us the ages of your children.
So I have three kids. One is 22. I had her when I was 15. The second one, he is 8, and the third one, she's 5. She's gonna be 6 soon.
So it's been a journey. So I guess you were part of what we know as the Lost Girls of Sudan. And
Yes.
just tell us your story. Where in Sudan did you grow up?
So I'm part of the Lost Boys of Sudan, Lost Girls of Sudan. This is a group of young people that was allowed by the U.S. government to come as refugee in late 2000, 2001. There were about 3,400 or 800 boys. 3,000 between 3,400 or 3,800. I don't know the number. And there were among those boys, there were 89 girls that came. I'm one of the 89 girls that was resettled in the United States as an accompanied refugee child. I came from southern part of Sudan, in a state called Jonglei State, um, or which is close to Upper Nile, the state in South Sudan. So that's where my village.
That part of South Sudan today,
It
where
is
you
part
grew
of
up?
South Sudan, yeah. So when I left the country, it was Sudan, and Sudan is split into two in 2011. So I'm from the southern part of, but so now I'm from South Sudan, the world youngest nation, and I come from Jonglei State. Yeah.
And were you born, what year were you born? Were you born into when the war was happening in Sudan?
Yeah, so the second civil war, Sudan's second civil war began in 1983. I was born in December of 1985. So I was born when the war already began, but the war hadn't reached my village then. Like I heard there was a war because my dad was one of the commanders in the war. So he was gone a lot, and his bodyguard will come and they go and they come, and then I hear there's a war that is going on, but as a child, you don't really know. So that the reality of war did really reach me, say in the beginning, 1983 until 1991, when finally reached my village and my village was burned down. That's when the reality of it hit me. But the war had been going on all this long.
You were about 5, almost 6 years old when that happened. What was your first memory of war when it came to your village?
For me, it was just chaos and confusion. I was really, really, really confused. Like the atrocity, grabbing women, putting their head in the water, like drowning them or something. Like it's just like weird. And like I grew up in a village where there's a lot of cows. So when people were shooting, the animal were confused too, as people were just like people running in different directions. And I will never forget that scene in my mind. And that's why I always advocate if there's a way to end things peacefully or to negotiate, it's better for human life than the actual war.
Absolutely. I was having this discussion with a friend last night, and it's sort of like it's always about, sadly, it's greedy men who start these wars and perpetuate these wars. And
Mhm.
it's always women and mothers and children are the ones who suffer, who really
Yes.
suffer.
Mhm.
And it's the same story every time, and it doesn't change. And for as long as I've been covering wars, I've just never seen anything positive in any way kind of come out of conflict. Um, we're so much better off to be pragmatic about these things and find solutions. But yeah, so up until that point, what was your childhood like? I'd love to learn a little bit about, what it's like. What did you know sort of for women in Sudan? How do they give birth? Do they go to a clinic? Is there home births are more popular? And I mean, what do I know it sounds sort of small, but I'm fascinated. What do you eat? What do children in Sudan eat? Toddlers in Sudan eat? What are your first foods?
Right. In the village, I did really pay attention, like if women give birth or not. Like, I don't know, maybe I was just like way too young, or maybe people give birth when the children are outside or they take you outside. I just don't have a recollection of witnessing a new baby being born when I was in my village. I actually witnessed a new baby being born when I was in Kakuma refugee camp. So that was
Kenya.
like 90, ending of 93, 94, beginning of 94, where one of my aunt was having a baby. But I didn't witness that whole thing. I came and the baby was crying. They said, oh, the baby was born. I was gone. I was at church. And then from there, I will just hear, oh, the baby is born, and you hear the baby cry. But I think there might have been a tradition where young girls or young people are not allowed to be in a bath when the woman is having a baby. I think it's the midwife, and most of the babies being born are born at home. There are some cases where they had to go to the refugee hospital, which was in zone 3 for us. But I think that's for like complicated cases, or it's taking a long time for someone to have a baby and things like that. Yeah, and so the first thing that the baby eat that I witnessed is breastfeeding. Breastfeeding was everywhere, like everybody breastfeed. And if you are lucky and fortunate, or like you have family members that help you, you can have formula. But formula was not popular. It was very expensive, and most people can afford it. So what I saw is breastfeeding, a lot of breastfeeding. And then when a baby is maybe 6 months old, and you can much some food for them to eat, but most of the time breastfeeding. That's what I
Uh,
watch children eat. And
right.
our own family diet is mostly a mixture of sorghum, which is like a grain, or millet, and wheat flour, where we make bread, and mandasi, which is like a doughy kind of thing, look like an elephant here, if you know that. Mhm.
So hang on. So it's millet flour and it's just is it made into like a dough and you use it to scoop the food?
Yeah, so so you can mix millet and a little bit of wheat flour, and you can make what they call kisra. It's kind of like injera but lighter.
Okay. So that's like a baby's first food sort of thing.
Yeah, so you can make it like that, and then put like a stew on it. If you make meat or something like that, but not a meaty part. You cannot put it on it and break it down. Another thing that I saw my younger cousin eat is you get potato, cut it, and then boil it with meat together, and then mush up the potato part, and don't give them the meat part. They just get the juice from the meat, and they can eat that.
Could you just repeat that? I think that Zoom just jumped out a little bit. Can you tell me what that food was again?
Oh yeah, that food was potato, like potato. You get the potato, peel them, and then boil them together with meat, and then you take it out, mush it a little bit. You can use just a spoon, and then you feed that to the babies. Another thing is beans. In a refugee camp, there were a lot of beans, so you could cook beans and then rice. Mhm.
And typically, how long do women breastfeed for in Sudan?
In Sudan, in South Sudan, among the women that I grew up with, mostly about a year.
About a year. So it's sort of
Year
similar
is very
to
typical. Yeah.
Western guidelines.
Year or more. Some people even go 2 years breastfeeding, but I think year is the
The
average.
average.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, how did you end up getting from your village to the Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya?
So it was a combination of both. We walk most of the time. We walk on foot, and then sometime the UN lorry will come and rescue us. My last leg was from Nairus to Lokchokyo, which is at the border of Sudan and Sudan back then, now South Sudan and Kenya. And the UN car got us and bring us to Lokichokyo. And then from there, the UN lorries took us to Kakuma refugee camp. So that's how I got into Kakuma refugee camp. But in the beginning, it was a lot of running on foot, month and month, just walking. And I remember asking my uncle, when are we going to be arriving? And he's like, I don't know. But I'm like, where are we going? He's like, I don't know. We didn't really know where we were going. We know that we were seeking a place of refuge and a place of safety.
And what happened to your parents in the war?
Both of my parents didn't make it in a war. My mom died at one of the attack, and she went into labor and had a lot of complication, and there was no hospital. So I think 3 days or 2 days later into all of that, she passed. Pretty much something preventable. If there was a hospital, she and the baby could have been alive today. I think he get dehydrated and just losing a lot of blood and not, getting good care. And then my dad was, commander, so he died in a war. Mm-hmm.
Did you have any other siblings?
I have step siblings, yes. So my dad, second wife. So, but when we grow up, we don't really call each other like you are not. You call yourself sibling, no matter what. No, as long you have the same father or even step children are always family members. Even cousin are always like your immediate family members. Yeah.
So was that after your mother and brother passed away that you left for the refugee camp?
So I left a refugee camp. No, both my parents passed. They didn't even make it to the refugee camp. So when I made it to the refugee camp, I made it with my uncle family.
But
And
you left the village after your parents had passed away, or you were already
yes,
gone?
yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was my grandmother. And in my book, I talk a lot about how my grandmother was raising me. And other women in the village, in my village, were like my mothers and people that I remember very well.
Tell me a little bit about that concept of the village, because
Mm-hmm.
obviously, here in the West, we're a lot more siloed, but we hear a lot about this term, the village, that exists in other countries. But how does that work when you say that, you've got multiple people raising you? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think if there's one of the best beautiful culture in my village or like in my upbringing, I would like highlight that. And it goes, that saying, take a village to raise a child. I think life is so overwhelming, no matter how successful you are as an individual person, raising a child take a lot of toll on people. And so it's a way to divide it, the burden, So if some in the morning, some women go and like go to the garden and dig, and then some women will be at home. Those who are at home, they will take care of children, even if they're 15 children, even if they're not your own. You cook for them, you bath them, you sing to them, you do whatever to entertain them. And then when those women come back, they will take care of them to make their dinner, and those other one go out and like help. Um, so it comes with the idea of putting children as a center of a community. Children are our hope and they are our future. So you don't really see a lot of abuse. And even me, like when my mother was alive, I think he might have spanked me more. But like other women, other people, they really take a good care. When somebody give you a honor to be with their child, you take that very seriously, and you even take a good care of child than even your own child. And I remember one of my aunt, when there's not enough food, she'd be like, "Oh, I want Rebecca to have a bite first, because if she doesn't look like, because you are my children and I'm being biased." Like that's how good-hearted the women were there. And also when you are an orphan in my Dinka culture in a setting, and another person see you mistreating a orphan child, the whole community will woo you. They'll be like, why would you even do that? You know the parent of this child when they were alive, the good people, they were giving back to the community. So being known and doing service in the community help a lot. Like my dad was known, like he will give everybody, he will share what we have because he was wealthy, and he will share whatever that we have. And we didn't live like wealthy family, we lived like comfortably, but he didn't squander a lot of things. Like I remember I will just be like, oh, I like that cow, and the kid will be like, oh, did you know it's your dad cow? He give it to our family when he know that we have additional child and don't have enough milk for children to drink, so he give us this cow. So that we can survive or something like that. And that's one of the things I think a lot about him, because I was mad as a child, like being selfish. I'm like, why did he go to war and just not be with us? Or when he came back to the village, they told him that we left, we are going to safety now, and that he should not keep troubling where the conflict is. He should just turn around and join us. And he say, well, I know they are safe, but there are other children whose parent, mom and dad are not here, and I'm gonna go rescue them. And that's where he went and died. You know what I mean? Rescuing other people's kid when he know that we were safe. So that's how deep of that taking care, take a village. And so when I have my kid like Deng and Leona, now they are with their dad. I told him when I came here, I'm like, I'm gonna look for a job. DC is my place. I will thrive better there than Michigan. He's like, oh, but you don't have a job yet. Well, then take care of them. Let me go situate myself. Because in my mind, it's like children are the main focus, and either a child is with their dad or mom or somebody they trust, and I don't mind like him being there, because I know if he cannot do it some other time, I'll be there for them 100%, because the whole focus is that a child is being given a child environment, a innocent environment, being fed, not moving around a lot. And I seen this in my culture where my family is always having a lot of children coming. Like if their parents are traveling or their parents don't have resources, their parent will bring them to our compound. And then the women in my compound will take care of them. They will talk with their parent, they come, and then when their parents are stable again, they leave with them. So it's kind of like we didn't have social services, like back in the village, like where government help, like it was people helping people like themselves. You take it out of your heart. Like, for example, today in the evening, if I'm free and you are my neighbor, I'll be like, oh, Holly, you look really tired. Let me take care of Robin. You just go out and do your thing. She will eat with my kid if I have kid, or I will just play with her. And that's how it always been. Um, and I think that's where that saying came from, like it take a village to raise a child. And also, if you are out there running, doing naughty thing, and a woman that is not even from your village see you, they will discipline you. And your parent will not say anything. They'll be like, why are you behaving like this? That is a bad behavior. And they will grab you, bring you home, and then they will, and sometimes they can smack your butt, and then your mom say, or the mom or the dad will say, did you smack them? And if the stranger say no, they like smack them, so that they know that what they were doing and misbehaving is not acceptable here at our house, and therefore it's not acceptable in the rest of the world. So discipline is a very big thing.
Yeah, so discipline, what's the approach to discipline? So it's, you get a smack if you're being naughty. What else? How else does that work?
Smack and a lot of talking. They will call you and they say, sit here. And they say, what were you doing there? If you push somebody or you were bullying to somebody or you steal something that you're not supposed to get, they'd be like, what were you thinking when you were doing that? And it's this long lecture of like, you should not do it again. This might be the last time. Um, if you need something, just come straight and ask and we'll help. Yeah, thing like that, a lot of lecturing.
Interesting. So, how many years did you spend? I'm sorry, that's Raven making sounds in the background. How many years did you spend at the refugee camp?
8 years. I was in a refugee camp for 8 years. So I arrived ending of I think ending of 1992, 93 there. And then I left in 2000, December of 2000.
Why were you able to go to school in the refugee camp? What resources were there for you, and who was raising you in the camp?
My uncle family were raising me. So my aunt and my uncle were raising me. There were a refugee school, but it was poorly equipped. So let's say that there's 100 students and maybe there will be five textbook. And so sometimes you don't even see the textbook. You can just hear what the teacher is trying to say, but you can't even see the textbook. And so sometimes some people that look at the textbook in a classroom, in the afternoon they give it to someone, and maybe on a weekend other people can pick it up and they can read what is there. So I just remember that it was not resourced so well. And then again, when I got my period, there's no like tampon or anything like that, and I know that a lot of girls start missing school as soon as they get their first period, because it's embarrassing. You're gonna go sit there and it's like a bunch of kids, they don't even know. They're like, oh, you're bleeding, or like, what's going on? And you just get self-conscious and you don't show up at the school. So I know that a lot of girls end at the school the first time they get their first period. And also in a refugee camp, there was also issue of child marriage. So when you got your first period, now you have suitors coming to your family members and be like, oh, she's a woman now, like I can marry her. Yeah. So
Did that happen to
it
you,
was
and did
not a
your
good
family
environment
protect
for.
you?
Hmm?
Did that happen to you? Did suitors come around and try to have you married off as
Yes,
well?
it did. And I talk about it in my book. Yeah, it happened to me. So when I first got my period, the word got out, now she's a woman. And then some people came and they say, oh, I want to marry her. However, my uncle did a good job in that scenario. He said, yes, you guys can, because people come and dance and announce that I'm interested in a girl traditionally. He let people do that. But then he said that she just become a woman. She at least need a year, to be trained, like if she get married, like to know how to be a wife and thing like that. So because that family were like, oh, we want to have her in 5 months or something, and my uncle would say, no, she at least need a year because she's a kid, she just become a woman and she needs some training. And so that guy went back to Sudan to look for dowry, because you have to pay dowry to get a girl in a Dinka culture. And with that time he was gone, and then my process of coming to United States came about. So I left before the decision was made if I'm going there or not. So that was a very exceptional case. A lot of girls, they don't have that chance, like somebody come and they say within a month they take them or whatever. But my uncle specifically asked that they give me a year, at least to for them to go collect their dowry and for me to be trained how to be a woman. Um,
So how old were you at this point when you first got your period and the suitors began?
I was 14, 13 going
14.
to 14, and he was gone for a whole year. So I had turned 15 and then came to the US.
So had how old was the man that wanted to marry you?
I don't know his actual age, but I think at that time when we were, he was probably in his 30s or like late 20s, but I would say 30s.
Were you scared, or was it something that you accepted as what it was?
No, I was scared because I didn't know him. I think I only saw him 3 times in my life. Like the time they came and stand and we were just playing and they're like, hey, we need to come and sit. We have something to talk to you about. And then we just ran away. So that evening I was disciplined. They're like, why did you see visitors come and you guys just kind of run away? And I'm like, I don't know them. And they're like, well, he want to marry you. And I'm like, what? Because I had no idea. And they're like, yep, his family sat down. There were 5 girls or whatever girls that were in line and they were voting. They have to vote on character. Like physical look character, I don't know, it's so weird. Like they have to ask a young man when you are about to get married, they say, who are the girl that you are dating? And he had said the girl is dating, and I'm not one of them. I was young, I'm not dating. And they're like, but who are the other girl you are interested in? And then you say the name of girls, and my name might have come up, and then the family sit down, they're like, oh, and they choose whoever they think is the best for their family, based on their family character, based on their upbringing, based on the look or money more. I don't even know how it works. So I remember just being like, I remember crying a lot that night. I'm like, why me? Why, like, why choosing me? There's a lot of other girls that are way mature than me. Like, why me? And I just remember being so upset, like, cause they were like, oh, you have beautiful legs and your big eyes. And I just remember that night, I'm like, I wish one of my eye can fall off or something because I don't like this, because I did know him. At that time, I had developed how to have romance. So I did had a guy in my class that would just write, letters like, I love you, I will love you till the river Nile dries up. And there was no movie. So we just exchanged letters like, oh, I will just read it and laugh, or sometimes I will just draw a heart because I was like shy to say anything and give it back to him. And then he would write more, like he was more expressive. He was older. So that's what I saw love is all about. But this whole idea of like somebody marrying you, you never talk to them, you don't know them, I was afraid of him, because he was like a lot older, could be like closer to my dad age. So that was really, I didn't know how to process that. And actually, one of my teachers have heard about it, and he went to the UN and give my name. I think my case was speed up because I have applied like later on for this program of the Lost Boys of Sudan. But I think my teacher have a lot to do of why I was in the very first plane that landed in the United States that brought the Lost Boys and Lost Girls of Sudan. The first plane that landed in this country, November 6, 2000, I was one of them. And we were less than 30. And I think my teachers and combination of people of good faith have worked behind the scene to make sure that I'm out, because they knew that in a year I will be given up. And he's like, you are way smart. You don't even know what's going on and you don't deserve this. You will get married later on.
Um, why do you think, I mean, so the numbers were there was a lot more boys that were brought over than girls. I mean, what would we say? There was 89 girls, right? Versus like several thousand boys. Why do you think there wasn't more girls as part of that program that were brought to the US?
I think it's a combination of few things. Number one, I felt like a lot of girls didn't have an opportunity to even hear about what the program is about. And I go to all the disparity of education. Most of people that were at the school are boys than girls. Also, the issue of child marriage, a lot of girls get pulled out to get married young. Second, traditional belief that a woman cannot travel by themselves. So like coming to United States as an accompanied refugee child and you're going to live with random family, a lot of family caretakers of girls, they didn't see that as a good idea. So they hold back their girls. I also think that the extent, like the long process of interview, you will be interviewed this week, and then maybe in 2 weeks you go back and it's like same question, or like same question but asked in a different way. And most of the girls didn't speak English, so you have a translator, and maybe your translator in the first day is different than your translator in the second interview. And if the wording are like off, you are disqualified. So I think too, there was a discrimination in translation that disadvantage women, because I know that when I was being interviewed, I didn't know a word of English. I knew a few things like boy, girl, she, her, but I couldn't carry on a conversation. So I can't even talk for myself. And who knows, even one of the girl told me later on that one of her family members didn't want her to come when and talk to the translator to say different things so that she failed the interview to be admitted to come. So there's just so multiple things, and it's one of the things I'm interested later on to travel to refugee camp and really do investigation, like more interview in this and how corrupt this system is. You know, it's designed to help the disadvantaged people, but it's people who have more that even get it than others who don't, you know.
It's kind of curious. I mean, how old were you at this point? I mean, you were still a child, 15, 14, 15.
I was
What
15
kind,
when I was going through
15,
the process, and when I landed, I was 15.
what kind of questions was it the UN or the United States government that were asking the questions? And what were they asking you?
Yeah, I think it's like, do you have mom and dad? And I think for me too, why it was straightforward, I didn't have to think a lot of things because my mom and dad didn't make it to Kakuma refugee camp in a war. Some people, their parents were alive and they get separated as they run. So they will say, when was the last time you see your parent? And they will say, I saw them in Kidipo, or I saw them in Nairus, or I saw them in Lokichokyo. And then maybe the second question be like, oh, but when you saw them, where did you know they were? Like kind of twisted question. And then they'd be like, oh, you just say a different city name again or a different time. And then they're like, oh, you are disqualified. Yeah. So it's just that I don't even remember the question, but I just remember they were confusing because my translator will talk to me in my language and they're like, oh, they're asking this question, but I'm like, but they just asked, and they're like, oh, in a different way, but mine were consistent because I just say that my parents are not here, I'm with my uncle family, which was true. And I came in 19 when the first time the Kakuma became the Kakuma refugee camp. We were the very first people that settled that, and it was just a desert, nothing. They give us a tent to use, and there was nothing. It was dry. So my thing was consistent over and over. And again, I never left Kakuma refugee camp, so my history was consistent. Some people, when it was so dangerous in Kakuma refugee camp, where local people were attacking refugee and starvation and a lot of dying, most people that had resources got out of Kakuma a little bit and then come back in. So I didn't have those kind of messy stories of like I left and I come back. So that helped my case. But for some people, they really, really should have qualified. But because of so many, they've been out and they come back again, kind of disadvantage the application.
Wow, that's sad to hear, but not surprising. So you landed in Michigan. Was that where your host family, your first host family, was?
Yes, so I landed in Grand Rapids Airport and then we drove to Holland, Michigan, which is like 45 minutes away from Grand Rapids Airport. And that's where my host family are located in Holland, Michigan.
What was your first impression of the United States?
I always say, like, I remember getting out of the airport and I see this sea of white people and mostly blonde and blue eyes because like in Michigan is a lot of Dutch people background. So it's like, I was like, wow. because like in United States, what I have seen, I didn't go to a lot of movies, but one time one of my cousin boys sneaked me to go watch movie, and we just see like Hollywood movies, and you see how diverse America is, like black, white, olive skin, dark hair, whatever, but then it was not that diverse. So I was like, I remember asking my mama, like, there's black people here. And then she laughed. She's like, yeah, there's some. I'm like, okay. So that was interesting. And then, of course, that saying, like when people say, oh, when you see certain people in one place, I remember telling my foster dad, like he took me to Meijer, which is a grocery store, and it was like 2 days after I arrived, and everybody looked the same. And he kept like going on different aisle. And I remember I tell him, I'm like, hey, don't walk so fast. What about if I lost you? I will not be able to find you. And he say jokingly, like, I will be able to find you because you are the only black person in this store. And so yeah, we laugh about that. Yeah, so that was interesting. There was a lot of diversity, uh, but the family were kind to me by welcoming me. They both were in Kenya. So in the beginning, they make uji, which is like a porridge, like corn flour in a boiled water and a little bit of salt and sugar. So they made that for me for a few days. And because everything was so overwhelming, the American food was so big to me, and didn't have a taste or something. So they make something that was familiar for me. And
Oh,
then
like
later on, we went
yeah.
to the store and to the grocery store, and then I buy something like cabbage and meat and made it at home, or color green and meat, which we call similar to sukuma wiki. It's a it's it's a vegetables in Kenya. Yeah, so I did that, and then we were looking for okra for the longest time. Couldn't find okra until somebody tell them that there's a store in Grand Rapids that is run by African women that have okra. So I remember when I first went there and buy okra, I was so excited.
Like okra too. It's a good dish you can do a lot with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it wasn't you. So you were here not very long when you found out something pretty unexpected. Can you give us a little bit of context about that and what happened?
Yeah. So a few months later, like I told my foster mom, like my period is missing, and she's like, you are young, and I think it's a change of diet and weather, because she's like, oh, I remember when I went to Kenya, I missed my period for a little bit, so maybe it's a change of diet, because they had 1 week before I left, they do all the medical checkup and including pregnancy tests. And then when I arrived, 2 days or 3 days later, they did that one and they were both negative. But the thing happened like 2 days before I left. So it wasn't showing in the system that, when I was assaulted, it was 2 days before I left Kakuma refugee camp. At one of the place I was saying bye to one of my friend, and that person have always just followed me around and just knew that it was an opportunity for him to take advantage of me at that time. So yeah, so my foster mom was like, no, it's the change of diet. And then one day when she was going for our own ultrasound for my brother, their first child, they were pregnant for their first child when they got me. So they were a young couple. She's like, hey, you want to come and see the baby? And I'm like, what? You see an unborn baby? Like, what's going on? And she's like, oh, there's something called ultrasound. You can hear a baby beat and you can see it. So I get excited. I'm like, okay. So we went for that appointment. And then after she was done with her appointment, she asked the nurse, she's been missing her period now. It's almost 3 months or 4 months at that time. And I think it's change of diet, because when we got her medical checked up, when she just arrived and before she arrived, they sent us all of the information. And then the nurse was like, oh, so she asked me to lay down, just like rubbing my belly. And I don't know. She's like, can I use the thing? And I describe it as a magic once. And then as she put it, like we can hear, like, yeah. So that's how we find out. And she was like, she's
That's
pregnant.
just how far along were you at that point?
Hmm? I
How
think
many months?
I will have to ask my foster mom because after that my head was just spinning like I didn't even know what I'm like pregnant. In my head, I thought you have to be married to be pregnant, and I knew that thing happened, but I'm like, how can I be pregnant with it? About that. Yeah, so I think I was 5 or 4 months, 5 months or 4 months, 4.5 or five, wherever that it can show on the ultrasound because it did show when we did hear the sound whatever that. Yeah, so that's how
And
far I was, and we didn't know I was pregnant. But I just
wow.
remember I was sleeping a lot, and my foster mom is like, you came in December, it's cold, change of weather, and died. But I was tired, constantly tired, but that was what's going on.
Had you told your host mum but prior to that or anybody what had happened to you, or it wasn't till you found out you were
Yeah,
pregnant
she
that
asked
you
me later on, she said, in your case, you were about to be given up for post-marriage. Was it that case? And I say, no, it's not that guy. The guy that was going to marry me was not at Kakuma refugee camp when I left. It's a different person. And I told her, and as a survivor of something traumatic like that, it's kind of hard to talk about it. And for me, I almost screamed the day it was happening. But when I look in the window, I saw my cousin brothers standing outside, and I say, if I scream right now, and I'm gonna leave tomorrow for United States, it's gonna be a fight and people might kill themselves. So in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna protect my family and hope that they just go away or that nothing come out of it. But yeah.
crazy. Um, and then how did your host family react to that news? And did they obviously they were having a child themselves. How did that all go down?
Yeah, they took it really well. My foster mom just give me her. My foster dad that night, especially my foster dad, he spent the night with me, just holding me, tired and crying the whole night. My foster dad cried that the entire whole night, and then the next day he kind of told me like, you know what, I had a girlfriend in college that was assaulted, and that is like it just breaks my heart to see my lovely daughter like you are in our heart that you're going through this again. But I didn't know, but the whole night he was there like just rubbing my back, going downstairs, getting me water, just holding me tight. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did a good job. And then after that, we had to tell my social worker because I was unaccompanied. I was underage. So the social worker, we tell them, and they say okay. And then my foster mom was like, she's young, um, you know, she's still in high school. So I'm a stay. I was planning to be stay-at-home mom for my son, so I will just help when she's at school with the two kids, and then when she come home I come breastfeed, and actually school give me a longer lunch break to come and breastfeed or to come and pump. And this is the most conservative school that I went to, like, so for me, like, I probably was the first case that had a baby in high school, but people, my friend, were so kind to me, like every now and then you would lick in high school, and everybody doesn't even know what that, like, what's going on with this random black girl that just came here. So I kind of like just took of that, but like, I think like growing in Africa helped me a lot. I don't know how I would have functioned if I have grew up here in the United States and that thing happening to me when my friend are not like that, I think it would have damaged me more. But I knew back then, young girl my age can have children, so I didn't think about it that much. I was just like, well, here we go again. I'm in high school and I'm a mother, so I'm gonna go home and pump, and I'm just not gonna do a lot of activities that people my age are doing because I don't have that privilege. I'm a mother. So I'll come home, pump during my lunch break, go back to school at 3 o'clock. I come back, feed the baby, and then my foster mom take care of kid, and I do my homework, and then we switch. I take care of kid, and she make dinner or something, bath time, thing like that. So that was very helpful that he was there with me because I didn't even know like where to get diapers or all of that. I just had come to the country. Yeah.
What did you pump at school or no? How did you keep your supply
No,
up?
I will come home. The school was closed like 5 minutes, less than 5 minute drive from my house. So I will come and pump at home. And now that you're talking about it, I think that's one thing that high school should consider that in case some girl have that they have a room. Uh, if girl want to continue the education.
And I mean, as a teen, did you have a positive birth experience in the United States? It was obviously probably different to what we talked about life in Sudan and South Sudan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that I have a positive birth experience. Um, I think it would have turned out differently if I was not in the United States, though, because I was in labor for like more than 24 hours, like long time. And I remember the doctors saying that, well, we're gonna give it few hours, and if not, we will just do C-section, because her hips, they were like, my hip are not that developed well yet. And yeah, so that was super long, but she finally came naturally later on. I was exhausted. I just remember I was just in so much pain, like yeah, it was super long. But then once I hear her voice and see her beautiful face, all that pain, I don't know. I think that's why I say sometimes women are second God. We create life. Like that pain just disappeared for some reason, and I was holding her. But I just remember going through it. I'm like, oh my goodness, am I even gonna be alive? I like, what in the world is happening?
So you take it you didn't get an epidural.
I did at the end. They told me, they say that there's something, my photo mom just explaining everything. They say it will help with pain. And then when they give it to me, I can just see, all that chat when like I would say every time because I didn't know English, when I have contraction, I would say I have another construction.
I know.
And then
I
so when I see it and they say, my first mom would say, let's go another construction because it will go up and down. And then I'm like, but I'm not feeling it. And she's like, yeah, because of the medicine they give you.
uh, I remember with Raven, I literally went from 1 centimeter to 10 centimeters in an hour. Like it was just bang. Like the contractions
Mm-hmm.
were less than a minute apart right from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I'd be able to handle it in advance. And I just had to cave at some point. I was like, I'm going to die. Even though it was all fairly quick, I was just like, I want to be able to somewhat remember this
Yeah.
because and I've got a pretty good pain threshold, but that was pretty hell. And I actually had to
Yeah.
get two epidurals in the end because my contractions were so strong that I couldn't the first one just barely did anything. And I was like, I'm still in excruciating pain. Yeah, I don't know if I have another child, if I can try to tough it out again, but yeah, there was just no way at that point. I was like, no.
Yeah,
If
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
it's there,
one
please
of the
help me.
hardest pain. I don't even know how to describe it because it's just like, and especially when they come quickly, like there's no time to breathe, and it's like it
Yeah,
just keep going at it. Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. So how many years did you spend with your host family, and did you incorporate any of your sort of more Dinka sort of culture rituals to that early childhood?
Not really. I did really incorporate a lot of my Dinka culture because, first of all, I never had a baby in my Dinka setting, so I didn't know what to expect. And those are the part of when my uncle was telling that man, like, she need a year to be teach how to be a woman. Those are the things they tell you. They tell you how to have sex, because most of girls it's their first time having sex what do you expect, how your body react. Like women that have been through it will tell you emotion that goes with it or whatever. I don't even know because then I never get that stage where I was sat down. But I remember some of my cousins when they're getting married, they will tell you this is how your emotion, you because you are going to a different family, you having sex for the first time, how to process that or how to be close. Maybe they it's a closed door meeting, like you never hear it until you are there. And also when you have a baby, what are the signs that you are pregnant now, and how do you take care of yourself? Dinka culture have a beautiful tradition. When you have your first child, when you first become pregnant, just before you have your baby, they bring you back to your family home, and you might stay for a whole year with your family, and you will be pampered. Like literally people will take care of the child. They will just bring a child to you to come and breastfeed the child. And now that I'm educated, I was like, wow, these people are genius, and they understand the postpartum depression. They understand that so well. And so that's why when a woman have their first baby, you don't have it in your in-law, like people you don't know, they will bring you back and they will do a huge celebration. They will bring resources, food you will eat, clothes you will wear, and you stay with your mom and people that you are not shy to maybe express how you feel. And I think that maybe if you are with your near family, you might not express yourself that well. And it's one of the things that I want to write on in the future, or even research and asking older women more like why and how did this tradition come? Because this tradition is fantastic. And you don't see a lot of women struggling after their first baby because they have been taken care of. You sleeping a lot, you being fed, you don't even cook for yourself. Somebody make food for you, you know. Yeah.
And that's for an entire
So when
year.
I
That's a
was there
dream.
with my foster parents, hmm?
I said for an entire year, you get to go back to the family home and be taken care of.
Yes, your family, your friends, your in-laws can come and visit, but then again, when they come and visit, they come to bring gift to you. You just get pampered a whole
That's
year.
yeah, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And does that happen with subsequent children or is that just the firstborn?
It's mostly the firstborn, but if they detect that you are struggling, even on or second or third born or whatever, if they detect that you're pregnant and you are struggling, sometimes they will send you to your family, or they will talk as family, and they probably will bring a family member to just come and help you. They understand that part very well. Mhm.
That's yeah, that's extraordinary because
Yeah, and
yeah, the
what they do
rates.
too, Holly, what they do when you go, so that your first child, traditionally, you go to your family, you stay for a whole year, and when you are about to wean the baby, you leave a baby with your family. You don't take a baby. And that's how the baby will wean well. Like you will go back to your husband's house, maybe to make the second child, or just be there. And the baby can visit you. You can visit the baby, but the family take care of baby because they say that because you've been just hanging out with the baby is so attached to you that they will not let you. So they will like that's in Dinka culture. They say Panheden, the family of the mother are the one that always giving this like this honor to be with the child. The child can be with the family, the dad side later on when they, but when during that time of weaning, the family side of the girl play a lot of role.
And at what point, I mean, did you talk to your daughter at some point about what had happened and your story and how hard was that and how did she take that?
I think it was like when she was 6 or 5, she started asking, and we told her, and she took it well. She really, really take it well. She because I was not hiding anything, and I say that I have forgiven that person that did it to me. If you want to find him later on or something for your own closure, I'm not gonna be part of that, but I will leave it up to you. So she took it really, really well. Mm-hmm.
And what is her relationship now with her two much younger siblings?
My foster family sibling, really,
Um,
they have good
or
relationship.
your own children, your
Oh,
two
my
younger
own children,
children.
yeah, yeah, they have a good relationship. Yeah, we were together until I came here, until like last year in November. She's with my American family now when I came here. But she had a good time with them. They're very close. They were close. And I hope to see that more in the future.
Did you know that you wanted more children at that point, and what was the sort of the experience of having two more like for you?
I did know at that point. I did not know if I want to have more children after my first one. But then when I got married, like years later, like I had Julie in 2001, July, and I was married in 2011. And then 2016 is when I had my first child. So from 2011 to 2016, that's a huge gap. So when I had my son, yes, I was like, okay, I can be a mother again. And I had my son Deng and then Leona, um, 2017. Mm-hmm.
And did you incorporate any more of your sort of Dinka culture or your heritage um, with the
Yes,
younger
with them,
two?
yeah, with them, because I was more like a full-time mom now. We did a lot of it. Like, there's no like a Dinka cultural center or anything like that. But we did a lot on YouTube, like just listening to a lot of YouTube videos and some dancing and thing like that. And then when there's
What
a event, I will take them if there's a event in Grand Rapids. Or
And you grew up Christian. Is that still a part of your life? Is that part of your children's life? What role, I guess, has faith played for you?
Yeah, I grew up as Christian. I'm a person. I still consider myself as a person of faith, but I'm not religion. I'm not religious. I just felt like the last couple of years being in super religious setting, um, kind of do more damaging than really doing what the Bible. The main theme of the Bible is to love, to do just, and to be kind. And when religion is put into that, it twists a lot of things. Not only Christianity, a lot of different faiths do that. So I consider pretty much myself as a person of faith. I believe in all those ideas of justice, love yourself, love others, love your neighbors, uh, all of that thing. I believe in them. So I'm still a person of faith, but I don't see myself as religious.
And do your kids have a lot of curiosity about your homeland? Do they ask many questions about that side of their lives? I think we're a bit frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the question was, do your kids ask many questions about their sort of heritage from your side, and how do you address that?
Yeah, they are curious about my upbringing, South Sudan, what happened. So they ask question a lot, like, hey mom, how do you do this? What kind of food did you eat and why did war happen? What happened to your parent? Just like those questions that they're very curious about my heritage.
Do you think you'll ever go back there? Ever take them there to South Sudan?
Yeah, I'd love to take them to East Africa at some point. They can travel there. I think it will be a great experience for them. Not only East Africa, but just all over, even places like Thailand that I have been before. Love to travel Middle East at some point. Yeah, so I am a adventurous person, and I know that that is in them too. So I'm sure they will have a great time. Also going to Australia and seeing some of my family members there. I love for them to come.
Yeah. Is there any yes, Raven, is there any rituals specific to boys in the family as well as girls that are part of the Dinka culture that you've incorporated at all?
For Deng, I take care of your sister, because like in a Dinka culture, male man is like supposed to be a protector of the family, be there for your sibling, be a provider. Even when they say that a lot of women cook, sometimes it's seen as negative thing, but most of the time it's a division of labor. Men go and make resource like bring income, they go, or if they are in a village, they go hunting during the day, and women are at home with the baby, like you are raising your child, so you are more likely, as with your child around the house, you're more likely to make dinner, to just big thing, and man is more likely to bring food from outside and things like that. But for them, for my kid, I teach them the same. Like when I'm cooking, I ask both Deng and Leona to help me. Um, uh, Something a little bit heavy, like I'd be like, Deng, you help your sister, she's younger than you, but you're a man too, so you can take the trash outside or things like that. Yeah, just teaching him to be respectful of girls and women. Like I always say, that's not how we talk to ladies, like you have to be respectful. Or just, like men, sometimes they just so aggressive, like he just like jump on people randomly. So it's a few things like that where I'm like, yeah, you can have fun, you can tackle, but like be more careful. Is your little sister, and she's a girl.
How long did you take off with each of your with your two younger kids before you went back to work? Are you back to work full time now?
So actually, saying I had Deng in 2016, I haven't been back to work full time until I just moved.
So,
Yeah, so going back to work, I had Deng in 2016 and I was working from home. I had just done my last international travel to Congo, Rwanda, and South Sudan doing trauma healing work. So when I came and had him in 2016, I stayed from home. And then I had Leona in 2017, I was staying at home. And 2020, 2021, I got a part-time job. And so I've been staying at home with them until June of this year when I decided to move here to DC metro area so that I can go back full time. Because they're older now. He's 8, she's 5, going to 6. And I know that it's going to be better for me and for the future to go back full time. So I'm looking now for full time. But the entire time they were born, I've been a stay-at-home mom, doing project here and there. I wrote my book, but I was at home, and I'm pretty sure as a writer. So I've been like pretty much a full-time mom until June this year.
did you do daycare at all or get any help, or it's always just been you?
I have always just been me, except when they go to their dad on a weekend. But I have all just been me, and it's interesting seeing Juneteenth. I've been here and trying to do my resume again and applying and talking to people. I was like, wow, I was like sleep deprived too. You just don't know it when you're doing it. Like I feel like I'm thinking more clear and but because like not only being a full-time mom at home, but I was a full-time in a sense that I'm paying my rent by myself, a little thing that I have for part-time. And yeah, I think it was a lot. It was a lot
Because
to do, and
we
also
just
going
don't have the
and also
village.
going through divorce that was not easy.
And how have the
Yeah.
kids coped with that divorce?
I think they handled it well because one of the things I told Jordan when we were splitting, I said that you were a man that fall in love, and I fall in love with you when we were in college, we were younger. And it's unfortunate that the relationship is not working out. He's the one that served me we okay. Yeah, he served me when we got divorced, and I told him that, well, uh, we fall in love in college, and we thought that we're gonna make it, because one of the reason, because I asked him what is the reason of divorce, and he say cultural differences. That kind of like threw me back, because I'm like, cultural differences. I thought that's why we were getting married in the first place. We knew we come from a totally different background,
What
and
was
that
his
we want
background?
to. I mean, like, he's American. I'm South Sudanese. He's white guy. I'm a black girl. Like thing like that. So I'm like, cultural differences. But I think he might. I don't know what he meant by that, but he might have mean, because he want to be a full-time missionary, to go to Uganda, and I didn't expect that, because when we met, we were doing more international development work, and I just don't see myself in that. My deep conviction of faith teach me to believe in what I believe, but I just don't know how I felt about going to telling somebody how they should have a relationship with God or whoever. I feel like that is a very um, personal decision, and my wish was that to just be in a community. Let's say we're doing a US work, USAID ID, working at a hospital or something, to just build relationship with community members, versus like, hey, believe in this and that. I just didn't see that. And maybe he saw that as a unique cultural differences. Maybe he want a partner that can support him in that thing, which is not me. But yeah, I just don't know. But I just remember me telling him, well, I respect you and I respect your honesty, but it's interesting that cultural differences is the reason of divorce. But one thing I will ask from you, don't talk negatively to kid about me, and I will not do that about you, because I feel children should be protected. You are their dad, I'm their mom. Nobody will ever take that away from them. And it is good that to just raise them on truth and that we love them, but we don't talk negatively about each other to them. So that's.
It's so important. And just this, thank you for coming. I could talk for hours and hours. I have so many questions. And I just want to also add a beautiful story of actually how we met. Yes, Raven, how we met with a Facebook video, right? When your uncle was trying to locate you. That was 2020, was that 20 end of 2020, if I remember correctly. And yeah, and you were able to find a piece of your family, which was so special.
Yes. So that uncle of mine, when you interview me that time, when I was connected with my uncle, that was a beautiful gift. I remember it was Christmas time, and I think that was just the beginning of our relationship, having a tabulation. So that was a really good Christmas gift. I hope to make that trip one day in person and to meet him in person. So hopefully in the next year or so, I will make a trip to South Sudan and visit that uncle that a person introduced me on Facebook. They watch a Facebook and they heard my name. It's like, hey, my, um, my niece, she left when she was a kid. It doesn't, and I know she's in the United States. Does anybody know where she is and all of that? And somebody sent it to me. Yeah.
I love that. And just my last question is, what's your hope for all your kids growing up here in the United States?
My hope for them is really to be proud of who they are, and also to be kind and to give back to humanity. That is my huge hope for my children, is to always be kind to themselves and be kind to others, their neighbors, and to build a better world for themselves and a better world for their neighbors. That is my ultimate goal and hope for them, and to have joy, to just enjoy life, and to be who they are. I hope to see some of my trait in them, but if I don't see it in them, that's fine. I just want them to be kind to themselves and to be kind to others. And yeah.
Yeah, the kindness is definitely this cornerstone of my parenting hope for my daughter. So I'm with you on that. And where can people read your beautiful book and learn more about you?
Yeah, so my book, you can find it on Amazon. What They Meant for Evil is at Barnes and Noble and wherever books are sold. You can also follow me on LinkedIn, Rebecca Deng. You can find me on Facebook. I also do book signing for book clubs. So if people want to do a book club like reading and want me to come and sign book and ask me questions, I can do that. Or you want to refer me to university where I can go and speak, or any organization that focus on girls' education, child marriage, peace and conflict resolution, thing like that. Mm-hmm.
You're such an extraordinary woman. I'm so honored to call you my friend. I'm very excited that you're closer to me now in DC. So we can definitely do another cocktail soon. Let me know
Yeah,
when
and
you're
that's my
free.
hope is for my kid to come this way too, and we can hang out, can babysit both of them, and just explore
Yeah,
different historic areas with the children for learning activities. I like going to the museum, so doing a lot of museum visiting will be good.
that is good. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you soon. And you're amazing. You're
Thank
absolutely
you.
amazing.
Thank you, Holly. You are an amazing mother, a writer, a journalist. So when this one come out, please, my audience, follow Holly. She write amazing articles, and she have a book too. So thank
Thank
you.
you.